On today's show, things get ugly in Boston as the Capitals fall by a score of 4-1.
Your Locked On Capitals, your daily podcast on the Washington Capitals. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Well, hello and welcome into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Dan Holme. I've covered the Capitals for the last 3 seasons for Locked On and various other outlets before that. I'm also the host of the weekly show called The Capitals Minute Cast, available wherever you find your podcasts. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $250 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. So in this edition of Locked On Capitals, we talk about how the Capitals, well, they lose in a big way by a score of 4-1 in Boston. Listen, this was a game that was closely contested in the first period. In the second period, I thought in the third period, the Capitals are going to be able to turn it around and walk away from this in victory lane. That was not the case. I'll talk about that a little bit later. I'll talk about the struggles that the Capitals faced in this game. And then in the final segment, I'll talk about that despite the loss, there were bright spots in the game. But just to get it going here, you know, this is an interesting team this year, isn't it? It ebbs, it flows. It's like a bumpy road sometimes. Pick up 2 big wins and then just really lay an egg in Boston. A tough game, and I think that emotions boiled over. It was kind of an odd lineup as well, as the Capitals had an extra defender. And just, you know, it kind of just seemed like a disjointed evening, all things considered. Not to mention that Craig Laughlin wasn't in the broadcast for personal reasons. Having Alan May in there was good for the game. I think that he has a great hockey mind, but still seems a bit weird not to have Craig behind the microphone with Joe B. But like I say, in this game, emotions boiled over, and that started it started first, I'm going to say, by Martin Fehérváry getting involved, getting physical, and it seemed like Fehérváry had a target on his back for the rest of the game. And, you know, part of the struggle, and I'll talk about that later, but you're not going to be able to win games when you have a 5-minute power play and you don't make the most of your opportunity. So it was a rough game for the Capitals, suffices to say. But again, they have some days off here. They don't play again until Saturday, and hopefully they can learn some things. The game started off, like I said, neck and neck with the score tied 1-1 for quite a while. It was a bit of a chess match, if you will. But when the Boston Bruins took a hold, well, they just ran away with it. Unfortunately, the Bruins pulled away in the third period, ultimately claiming a 4-1 victory. And again, you're not going to win them all, but the tough part about all of this is I take a peek over at the standings, and, you know, like I say, you have to make the most of your opportunities. As I record this now, the Devils 49 points, the Capitals 48 points. Right underneath of them, the Carolina Hurricanes with 43. So the Capitals don't have a lot of, you know, leeway. They cannot stumble. They don't have a lot of time to figure it out. But at the end of the day, they have been playing very well this season, coming off back-to-back wins. It was a tough game against that Bruins team tonight. And if you take a look at the Bruins, there's a lot going on with that team as well this year, as well as they're in third place with 42 points, an interim coach, all kinds of things that it is just kind of an odd thing going on out there for Boston, which generally speaking is a pretty solid team, all things considered. It was a tough ending to this game, though, especially after 2 quick goals put us behind and stunted our offensive momentum. And you take a look at it, it was a game that if the Capitals would have played smarter, if they would have made the most of their opportunities, like I say, they very well could have walked away victorious. But, it's special teams. It's those things that get drawn into focus in these games that are closely contested. It's either going to benefit your team or the opponent. And, well, the Bruins made the most of their opportunities this evening. And Charlie Lindgren, as we know, has been rock solid, but, he was under duress in the third period. And I would be willing to bet he would like to have some of those goals back. And it was a tough thing. His return after recovering from that stomach bug that we knew that he had, where he was talking about that he had to actually vomit during the game. He looked solid early on, making crucial saves and keeping the Capitals in the game. But your netminder can only do so much. The defense has to step up and play solid in front of him. And I think that there were points that, like I say, the Capitals kind of aired him a bit out to dry. But however, the final stretch proved challenging, and he finished with 18 saves on 21 shots. So not the typical performance that you see from Charlie Lindgren. But again, in the first and second period, he was very dialed in. He was making some big saves out there. It's just that I think it was a collective thing in the game that the wheel really started to wobble in that third period. But you take a look at it, key moments in the game, the Bruins took the lead when Elias Lindholm faked a shot, setting up Charlie Coyle for a rebound goal that broke the tie late in the game. And they used that opportunity. They vacuumed that momentum in what ultimately pushed them into victory lane. Brad Marchand later sealed the deal with an empty netter. So a tough night for the Capitals. I wish I would be able to come to you guys as I'm recording this shortly before a Christmas Eve here on a bright note that the Capitals, well, man, they're just rolling and playing very well. And all things considered, they are. You're going to lose games here and there. I get that. But, it's just being dialed in, batten down the hatches and play a solid 60 minutes. I would be talking to all of you about another Capitals victory. And, that's the big thing. I like the team tough thing. I like that when Martin Feravari was getting tossed around a little bit by the Boston Bruins in the latter half of the game, that PLD stepped up to save, to save and rescue him and just speak that you're not going to do this to our guy on the ice, and just be that team tough presence that the Capitals have had for a long time. But, that's, you could take a look at Martin Feravari as well. He could have played smarter, that he didn't put himself in a position that the Capitals had to be under duress. But as I watch this game, that's what I think to myself. What went wrong? And the big thing that went wrong for me is that they lost focus. Oftentimes it's things that you hear on all of these podcasts is you need to play a full 60-minute game. The Capitals did not do that tonight, and ultimately why they lost this game. All right, so coming up here after the break, I'll talk about the struggles that the Capitals had in this game and what they need to turn around before they take on their next game on Saturday. Today's episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. If you love sports, you're going to love Prize Picks, the best place to turn your sports knowledge into real money. Whether it's hockey, football, or any of your favorite sports, Prize Picks makes it easy to get in on the action. You can now win up to 1,000 times your money on Prize Picks. Plus, this holiday season, they're giving away $30+ million in rewards during Pickmas and offer 2 free picks in December. And when your picks hit, Prize Picks makes it easy to cash out. You can get your money in as fast as 15 minutes. This week on Prize Picks, I'm eyeing the hockey board, looking at Dylan Strome for more than 4 shots on goal and Tom Wilson for more than 1 assist. It's so simple to make my picks and have fun with friends while potentially cashing out fast. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNHL to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's right, $50 instantly. Prize Picks, run your game. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team. Every day you can find me over on Twitter. It's at DanCaps218. You can find the show on Twitter. It's at Locked On Caps as I come to you guys here at 11:40. Thinking that I wish it would be, I could come to you guys talking about another big win by the Capitals, but it was not the case. As all things considered, the Capitals played very well in the first period. The second period just lost focus in the third period. So at stake, who is on deck for the Capitals to face? And I don't know about you guys, but I'm happy that there's some time for them to reset. The Caps take on the Maple Leafs on Saturday, and then they take on the Red Wings on Sunday. So a bit of a break, and then back at it again against the Bruins on Tuesday. So they do have some time to rest and reset, as it is the Christmas holiday. I don't expect them to partake in too many practices or anything of that nature, but hopefully they can learn from some of the struggles that they faced in the game this evening against Boston. And you take a look at it. One of the players that has really kind of put himself in the doghouse is Ivan Miroshnichenko. You saw him struggle in the last game that he played as well, and we saw even Miroshnichenko benched during the second period as he learns from Coach Spencer Carberry's tough love, if you will. Listen, Ivan Miroshnichenko has played well, been given a great opportunity, and I'm going to say, all things considered, has played, to paint it with a broad brush, pretty well in his time that he's been called up here. But the last couple games have been a bit rough, and it's interesting. Again, it was kind of a mismatch out there as well. As you saw, the Capitals decided to go with an extra defender. LaPierre was not in the mix tonight, that there is a lot of questions facing this team. But Miroshnichenko, LaPierre, two players that definitely need to clean up their act if they're going to have a sweater on any given night. But if you take a look at some of the struggles that the Capitals faced in this game, we know they only managed to get 11 shots on goal, compared to Boston's 22. So let's think back about what has made the Capitals successful this season. Getting a lot of shots in, for one, but also going for those greasy goals, driving for the net, hoping for second opportunities, rebounds, these kind of things. You have seen that paid dividends for Connor McMichael, different players like that are continually set up in front of the net, driving for the net. Dylan Strome, we've seen that from him as well. When they adhere to that, it's when the Capitals play some of their best hockey. And I understand that a team like the Boston Bruins, they have, procedures in place to help make that so the Capitals can't do it. But if the Capitals want to get back into what has worked for them this season, I think that is what they need to do. And we also had missed opportunities, especially during a 5-minute power play, like I talked about, after a boarding incident involving Martin Feravari and Oliver Wahlstrom. So as you take a look at it, that was kind of the thing. If I'm going to point to a moment in the game that really started the Capitals in the wrong direction, was Martin Feravari in that game. I don't think that was the only reason, of course, that the Capitals lost the game. He did not cause the Capitals to lose by a score of 4-1. But what I think it did do is I think that it put the momentum in the Boston Bruins' favor. And they made the most of it. And let's be honest here. This is a Bruins team that is not the one from last year. This is a team that is flailing a little bit. They are not cellar dwellers, but they are definitely not the team that we remember historically. They still have some really great players on the team, but I still think a bit of in transition. But that is ultimately what happened in this game. The Boston Bruins were hungry to get a win, and that's why they did. They took an opportunity that was given to them, and they made the most of it. And you take a look at it, like I say, the Capitals, they had the opportunity. And if you are an everydayer of the show, I talk about all the time, and I talked about this earlier in the season, that the importance of special teams and making the most of those opportunities. That when you're given a 5-minute power play of all you can eat and you squander that, then you really can't blame anyone else for losing. That goes squarely on you. And the one thing I'm going to say about that power play in particular is it wasn't as fluid as we've seen before. It just seems like, I don't want the puck, you take the puck. And the puck was off their stick. And on that 5-minute major, guess what happened is that Boston was generating more opportunities than the Capitals were. So that is what I'm talking about in this game, that it was about momentum and a will to win, and the Capitals just did not have that in this game. So you take a look at it. The one thing I know about Spencer Carberry is he's going to mix things up a little bit. It's going to be interesting to see what this team looks like on Saturday. One Lars Eller, what's his status going to be? What is the status of Alex Ovechkin, these kind of players? And ultimately, what is it going to mean for LaPierre and Miroshnichenko, two guys that are kind of, fighting for a job, and who is going to be in the lineup when Alex Ovechkin returns. So sometimes the struggles can really bring certain things into focus. What were the things that really caused the wheel to wobble for the Capitals? Squandered opportunities is the big thing. And then you take a look at, special teams, those kind of things involved in the game. And then just the team in general seemed disjointed. I think if you watch the game tonight, you know what I'm talking about, that it seemed like when the Capitals are playing some of their best hockey, it's like a well-oiled machine. The puck moves very well. And, the key players that have stepped up in the past were not stepping up. Alexei Protas was not stepping up big like we had hoped. So those are the things to look at, why they struggled. Because like I say, what I mentioned in the first period, they could have walked away with the victory. First, second period, a bit of a stalemate, if you will. It's just that those opportunities that the Capitals missed on, and the Bruins capitalizing on their momentum, is ultimately what put the Bruins in victory lane. All right, so coming up here after the break, I'll talk about that. Despite the loss, there were some bright spots in this game. And I know what you're talking about. How could there be bright spots in this game? The Capitals lost by a fairly large margin. I'll break down all of those bright spots straight ahead. The NFL playoffs are almost here, but it's not too late to get in on regular season action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Well, because right now, new customers can finish this season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick a W. I love betting on which players will score a touchdown and how many points each team will score. It is so thrilling. And listen, there are a lot of football games that are played on any given Sunday or Monday or Thursday, and some of those you're more into, and some of them you're not. Say it's a Ravens game or a Commanders game, you're going to be into that. But say you want to have vested interest when your team isn't playing, well, open up the FanDuel app and put a little bit of money on the game. All of a sudden, they got that much more exciting. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sports partner of the NFL. All right, welcome back into this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It is your team every day. So talking about the Caps as they fell to the Boston Bruins tonight. And, I don't want to bludgeon you guys with a bunch of negativity. There weren't a lot of bright spots. I'm going to be honest with you guys in this game, but there were certain players that really impressed. And that is what I'm going to highlight in this segment, is that if there is any positivity that you can walk away from with this, is that it wasn't all doom. It wasn't all gloom in this game. There were bright spots in the game as well. Talking about Jakub Vrana scoring his 7th of the season, tying the game at 1-1 and extending his scoring streak to 3 games. Vrana has really been on a roll as of late. So a positive sign to see Jake the Snake really step up and play a huge role on this team. And he's a guy, if you take a look at out there, that has had to fight to get a spot, as we know that it has been primarily LaPierre getting a majority of the responsibility out there. And why is that? Oftentimes I hear people say, well, why isn't Jakub Vrana given another opportunity. And well, I think it was quite simple. It was Hendrix Lapierre in there for quite some time because, well, the Capitals were winning games. And I think that at the end of the day, you don't really want to screw up the chemistry. If the Capitals continue to win consecutive games, if they are on top of the NHL or the Eastern Conference or the Metro Division, then why would you want to shake things up by putting Vrana in there? Well, what you have seen here as of late is Hendrix Lapierre's play has been a little iffy, if you will. So what they did do is they put Vrana in there, and he has seized that opportunity and ultimately why he is getting more opportunities. But the thing about it is that, historically, when it comes to Vrana, he struggles with consistency on a night in and night out basis. And I think that that if he can continue with what he's doing right now, then I think it's going to make it very easy on Spencer Carberry and his staff about who should be in the game. Because as we know, Alex Ovechkin is edging closer and closer to returning. It's a perfect time to seize that opportunity and make the most of it. But taking a look at the game, standout players, like I say, it wasn't all doom and gloom. Pierre Luc Dubois, who continues to be a bright spot for the Capitals this season, getting 2 shots on goal. Jakub Vrana, 2 shots on goal. And you take a look at it, those were the guys that really popped off the page. And I think really tells the whole tale of why the Capitals did win the game. Because if you take a look at it, it's pretty slim pickings after that. Nick Dowd, Brandon Duhaime, Martin Feravari with shots on goal, Ivan Miroshnichenko with a shot on goal, Taylor Radish, Matt Roy, and Tom Wilson with 1 shot on goal each. So you take a look at it, those are some of the big reasons why the Capitals did not win this game. They were not generating opportunities, and when they were given golden opportunities, they did not make the most of them. But to keep in topic with this particular segment, Jakub Vrana continues to impress. 2 shots on goal, 2 shots on goal and 1 goal in this game. So that is what we're hoping for, is that the Capitals can continue to keep building on the success of certain key players and learn about and kind of figure out what went wrong in this game so they don't fall into so many of those pitfalls going forward. But the good news in all of this is that Alex Ovechkin is edging closer and closer to his return. And I would imagine that there is a very real possibility. I'm going to go ahead and say I'm almost certain that he will be in the game on Saturday. And I think that this team will be taking a big step forward as the Capitals, generally speaking, play that much better with Ovi in the lineup. Now, to be clear here, the Capitals have played pretty well, all things considered, in his absence. I think it has really spoke volumes about what this team is made of with him out of the equation. And it's a good thing that we're able to get an opportunity to take a look at that, considering that, well, Ovechkin is only under contract for this season, next season, and then it's the great unknown. It will be the era of Ryan Leonard and Andrew Crystal and, the players that are in the wings ready to take it to the next level. But it has been a really good opportunity to take a look at that. And that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some lemonade out of those lemons, is that despite Ovechkin being out of the lineup, that it has presented an opportunity for certain players to really take their game to the next level. And has to be kind of a proud father moment for Alex Ovechkin, I imagine, as well, as I'm sure he probably felt in the back of his mind, maybe I'm letting the team down. I know it wasn't his fault, but I think that he takes the captain, being named the captain of the team, very serious. So that's what we're hoping for, Capitals, as you walk away from this game. It's a bummer. I really would like to take out some polish and polish this into something saying, hey, guys, it's not so bad after all. It was a pretty rough game. Again, the biggest thing that really stood out was not playing that final 20 minutes solid hockey. That could have been an absolute game changer. But even if, say this game was horrible from front to back, all you can do is brush your shoulders off, get some rest during, Christmas time here, spend some time with the family and get ready for hockey that will be back on the ice on Saturday. I'm looking forward to it. I don't really like these longer stretches between games, but I'm hoping the Capitals come back after the Christmas break refreshed and ready to hit it hard. All right, once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, your only daily year-round podcast covering the Washington Capitals. And I want to thank all of you that listen on the audio side and watch this on YouTube. You are what makes this show successful. And I am recording this shortly before Christmas Eve. I want to thank all of you for watching throughout this year, and I want to wish all of you a very Merry Christmas, and I hope all of you have a great Christmas with your family. All right, once again, I want to thank you for joining me on this edition of Locked On Capitals, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It is your team every day. My name is Dan Holme, and I'll talk to you again next time.